All right, so example 1 here. It says find the exact values of y. So we're going to go through here. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take the inverse. So that means we're going to switch the input and the output. So I'm going to switch those two. And I'm taking the inverse of the inverse, which is the original. So it's going to be sine. So we're going to have sine of y equals the square root of 3 over 2. Now the next thing you need to do is you need to think about what quadrant you're in. Remember, inverse sine is between negative pi over 2, oops, that should be a y because it's my output, and pi over 2 for my answers, which we said is quadrants 1 and 4. So my answer can only be from quadrant 1 or 4 there. Now, first thing I'm going to look at here is sine of y is positive. Sine is what? Our x or our y value? Sine is like y over r, so it's going to be our y value, right? So, where is y positive? In quadrant 1 or quadrant 4? So, we're really in quadrant 1. Alright, so we're going to use our hand. And so, remember we have our hand here with our fingers, right? Now I'm drawing it because I'm recording it for those who are not in class today, and so if I show you my hand on the board, it's not going to help them at this point. Alright, so I want y, you said sine was y. I want y to have a square root of 3, or to have 3. Now when I do my fingers, is y the top part of my fingers or the bottom part of my fingers? No, it's x. And then y, okay? So y comes from the bottom. Remember when we do this, it's always our x is above and our y is below when we pick our finger? All right, so y is going to be our fingers below. So I need 3 fingers because the square root of 3 over 2, right? We know they're all square root of something over 2. I need 3 fingers to be below. So I'm going to start at the bottom. And there's my 3 fingers that are going to be below. So that means that finger right there is my angle. That's my ring finger. What angle is that? Pi over 3. And so that's our answer then. So y is equal to pi over 3. Because pi over 3 is in the first quadrant. It's between negative pi over 2 and pi over 2. Alright, so B, we have y equals the inverse sine of negative 1/2. The first thing let's do is let's take the inverse of that. So that means we're going to have sine of y equals negative 1/2. Remember, you still got to think about your quadrants. We're still doing sine, so sine is still our y value, correct? It's always our y value. Now, what specific quadrant is y going to be a negative number? Is it quadrant 1 or 4? So we're looking down in quadrant 4, which tells me that my answer is going to have a negative angle. Now we don't have to worry about the negative angle. Or we don't have to worry about the negative in the 1/2. Let's just look at it. So I need my y value to be a 1 when I use my hand, okay? So I need the bottom part to be 1. So I'm going to go back up here to this hand. There's 1, which means that angle is my answer. What is that? Pi over 6. But we said we're in quadrant 4, which meant it's the same distance. It's just down pi over 6, okay? So therefore, it's that negative pi over 6. All right, and C. So we got y equals the inverse sine of negative 3. Go ahead and take the inverse. That means sine of that angle will equal negative 3. So, alright, so we're still looking in quadrants 1 or 4. Where's sine negative at? In quadrant 4. Alright, so sine is y. Where is y equal to negative 3 in quadrant 4?
So would it be the...
Not the square root, Not the negative square root of 3, but negative 3. Can it equal negative 3? No, remember, it's only from negative 1 to 1, isn't it? Therefore, this one is undefined.